Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Takeaway. Today we're joined by Louis Coetzee, CEO of Kibo Energy. Welcome back, Louis. How's things?
Good day, Phil. Nice to be talking to you again. Yeah, we are doing well and looking forward to the springtime and summer in South Africa, and hopefully don't have to spend too much time in the winter and on the other side of the world.
Yeah, you don't want to be in the UK with the energy crisis. I can imagine Sod's Law will dictate that there'll be probably one of the worst winters we've had for the last 100 years or something ridiculous.
Yeah, it always goes like that.
Sure. So just this week, we saw the news that Kibo has acquired an advanced UK waste-to-energy project in Southport. Do you want to talk the listeners through this significant news?
In terms of how significant the news is, there are basically two levels. The first thing is, this is a very important announcement in terms of the strategy that we have embarked on a while back. And this is a very important portfolio of energy projects where we are focusing on renewable energy and clean energy generation. So in terms of that particular portfolio, this is a very, very crucial addition and very important one. But it also puts us in a position not only in terms of rolling out or executing in terms of that strategy, but it also puts us in terms of, with this addition, we're getting to a certain critical mass within the company in terms of our waste to energy projects. And if I can just spend a bit of time on that, I mean, what we are focusing on, as I've said in previous interviews already, we are trying to develop in three focus areas: on reserve power, on waste to energy, or actually in renewable energy, clean energy generation as a baseload solution. And in that regard, waste to energy plays a very important role in the execution of our strategy. So if you look at where we are now, I mean, this is another 12 megawatt addition to our portfolio. And then there's the projects that we are developing in South Africa with some really exciting expansion possibilities there as well in the short term and in the near term future. So from that perspective, a very important announcement. It not only in terms of further confirmation of delivery and execution on our strategy, but also in terms of reaching a certain critical milestone in reaching critical mass as far as this specific component of our strategy is concerned.
Sure. And I saw on the RNS that there was a mention of Shankly Biogas had negotiated a power purchase agreement and gas purchase agreement. I mean, so that with the favourable terms with the blue chip buyer. So it looks like these things have already been kind of negotiated within part of the deal, which is a great way to start.
Yeah, well, it goes back to what we've to the point that we've made in terms of our strategy statement as well. We are trying not to get into projects that are too big for us to handle ourselves. But most importantly, we are not looking at projects where if we get into a project, it must be one where we believe we can get it up and running into production within a maximum of 24 months, ideally 18 months. That's our sweet spot. And if you then can also have it with an offtake already in place, it just makes it so much easier. So from that perspective, yes, very attractive, but it also makes the project so much more bankable. So for us, when we have to start looking at funding at project level to get the construction and commissioning of this going, having those PPAs in place just makes our lives infinitely more easier.
Obviously, now you have to become a Liverpool football supporter because you bought this from Shankly Biogas. Do you understand the name and where it comes from?
Yeah. I have been educated on this already by the vendors of this project, and.
You'll never walk alone now. I mean, you're not going to walk alone.
Exactly right. That's true. Just recently, I wanted to do a site visit for this project, and I was informed that that might be difficult because it's the first Liverpool match of the season, and might be difficult to get people to attend. So
nobody's going to be there, so you can go yourself, but that will be it.
Yeah.
And Southport is traditionally the place where most of the players live, actually. So, it's not far from where I was born. So, but anyway, coming back to the mechanics of it, from a financial point of view, what's been announced in the RNS, what sort of cash flow is expected to be thrown off by this? I mean, obviously, we've got very high prices of power of all sorts at the minute, but the internal rate of return was in the 20s, I think, percentage once it's all up and running. Was that correct?
Yeah. So I mean, the figures that we announced yesterday indicates an IRR of 22.7, 22.8%. With a strong revenue stream per annum as well associated with that. I mean, all these figures, as we've made very clear in the announcement as well, are still subject to review and subject to potential change as we move towards financial close. But from our due diligence that we've done so far, these figures have proven themselves to us to be robust and have enough integrity that we're prepared to rely on them for doing this transaction. It's very attractive figures. If you look at 22% IRR, given the current circumstance, that's a very good return. So the consideration is 600,000 in total, and that's made up of 350,000 in ordinary Kibo shares, which will be issued in terms of the price formula provided for in the agreement on that basis, which is a VWAP-based calculation. And then the balance is in cash. The remaining 200,000 or 250,000 is in cash, which the company has already made provision for.
Okay, great. So this is one system. Now, the one thing that I was most excited about was the cube stuff that you're doing in South Africa. So can you tell us what the situation is with this? Because for me, this seems like what's the word? This is something that could expand so massively in South Africa, especially in the compounds and to give the security of energy, because Eskom is not making a good job of your electricity supply there in South Africa. So can you tell us a little bit more about this?
So you're referring to the long duration storage that we're involved in the Cell Cube Association.
Yeah, Cell Cube.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, as you may know, South Africa at this very moment is going through one of the most severe load shedding periods that it's ever been in. And so the demand and the need and the requirement for long duration storage, outside of the normal need that you would have for that in the normal pursuit of renewable energy baseload solutions, is just becoming more and more important and more critical by the day. And we see that. We are being swamped with inquiries for battery solutions and to install long duration storage solutions so that people can get past or bypass is basically a better way to put it, the load shedding. So you're absolutely right. From an South African perspective, the need and the demand for this sort of technology and for storage is just, it's impossible. We cannot, even with the best will in the world, we cannot satisfy that demand at the moment. So we are literally swamped with inquiries, and there are a couple of projects that we are working in that we are advancing very, very quickly at the moment. The problem is that the demand that we have at the moment, just to give you an idea, the demand that we have at the moment, if you put together the total production capacity of flow batteries in the world across technologies, cannot satisfy the demand that we have at the moment.
Wow. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
And so, and to me, this is a big part of, it's going to be a big part of Kibo's financial success going forward, because this is, and especially because it's in South Africa and the situation that you have with energy problems. I mean, the rest of the world's about to have an energy crisis. You guys have had an energy crisis for the last however many years. I don't know how many years it is, but it's not. I mean, load shedding. If you type in load shedding into Facebook or something like this, it will come up, and nearly every post will be South African, because ultimately that's what's been happening.
I think, if you think about it, I mean, and you're right, we see this as a very important component of our business strategy, and we see this as probably one of the most important short to medium components of the whole business case for Kibo. But I also want to just go back again a little bit and say, I just want to reinforce or re-emphasize the importance. This is what we've been saying. This is what Kibo has been saying all the time. This is the space where we want to be in exactly this, the disruption and the instability in the baseload generation environment as a result in South Africa of first and foremost load shedding, but also the pursuit of renewable energy. And as these demands grow, and as we're having this conversation, it's justifying that position. it's underscoring the importance of being in that space. So when you say, this is going to become a very important part, it is going to become a very important part, and it's an important part that we envisaged years ago already when we started developing this strategy.
Yeah, and what's happening then with the other project that I think is also in South Africa, the plastic waste to electricity or to energy?
Well, that's progressing really, really well. And within that environment, we are also exploring some really exciting expansion possibilities at this point in time to grow the waste to energy projects that we have. The project that we have there has already created a lot of interest on the basis of what we're doing. We are seeing a lot of interest in what we're doing, and hence the potential for expansion of that. But the project itself is advancing very well. We're still on track, as we've said before, and fast approaching the point where we hope to reach financial close.
Very good. So basically, just so the listeners understand, all the projects we've just talked about are currently valued at about £400,000 in Kibo's current stock market price or market cap, because you own 61% of Mast Energy Solutions, which currently accounts for about £4.7 million of your market cap based on the current price of Mast Energy. So how do you feel about that, considering you're just about to pay £600,000 for one of the projects alone? Obviously, the Cube cell for me is going to be a vast enterprise that, even just rolling it out in South Africa is going to be an amazing amount of batteries that are required, never mind the rest of Africa and so on and so forth. And then you've got the waste of plastic. So, surely this stock is seriously undervalued in terms of all those projects and the availabilities of them.
Well, I mean, the figures speak for themselves. I don't have to comment on it. I think the way that you've put it puts it in perspective. So, and at the same time, talking about just going back to the storage side, you would notice in the RNS that we put out in yesterday's announcement, there's a 2 megawatt storage capacity there as well, which we're very excited about because it just expands that whole business case and portfolio as well.
Is there a possibility that the storage battery can be used the same sort of way as in the Mast situation, that they would use it to...
there's definitely potential for that. Yes, definitely.
Okay, because that can obviously be very profitable in terms of it just on its own, which would be very good. Now, we've had other companies that have actually now started thinking about and been approached about providing the thermal coal because of the price of the thermal coal has gone drastically higher. So is this something that you think could happen, or there is a completely different plan for the coal assets?
No, not within Kibo. We are disposing of those properties or those assets, as we've said, and we believe that's the best value that we will be able to get from them. But we will not pursue them within Kibo. That has not changed, and it's not going to change in Kibo. We're still disposing of those, and the fact that the thermal coal price has gone up is not. It's probably just in our favor in the process of disposal. So that strategy remains the same. We are in the process of disposing of those assets, and hopefully we can do a really good transaction that takes advantage of the improved coal environment.
Yeah, from a year ago, those assets have got to be substantially more valuable than they were anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay, so from the point of view of Kibo, from my perspective anyway, we're severely undervalued on all of these different projects. We're heading in the direction of this transition economy that has to happen, that we transition from oil and coal and gas into the green energy solutions. And you're ahead of the game, I think, in these things, because within 18 months, all of these projects should be 18 to 24 months, as you said, all of these projects should be generating income, and Kibo should be a utility company that continues to grow effectively.
Yeah, if I could make add a little bit to what you've said just now, Kevin, this is one of the things. I mean, there's from a Kibo perspective, what we said when we embarked on this new strategy, as I've quickly said earlier on, I identified 3 focus areas. The first one was in the reserve power, where we delivered in the sense of listing that company, it's up and running and revenue generating at this point. The 2 other areas that we were focusing on after that was in renewable baseload generation or clean energy baseload generation, and in battery storage. And the announcement of yesterday, together with the other projects that we're doing, now puts us in a position where the renewable baseload energy generation part is properly and well underway. So that's a massive step forward, and also in terms of delivery of a workable and near production portfolio for that focus area. And then we've covered just now the battery side, and we've explained what is going on in there. So from that perspective, when we started this whole process to where we are now, Kibo has made huge strides forward to get operational or to get projects of merit in each one of these focus areas up and running and going.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, let's hope that the market recognizes that in the near-term future. And good luck with progressing all of these projects, because I'm sure it's going to take some hard work to get them all to fruition, but we're now in a position to do it. So good luck.
Absolutely.
Louis Coetzee, CEO of Kibo Energy, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.